guys, so we thought about it, and since today is our 26th anniversary, thank you. We was going back and forth about these shades, okay? And we thought we would do some, let's talk about it, about our 26 years of marital bliss, as they call it. And I figured, what perfect time, it's quiet, people are just not getting back on the ship. I said, well, we'll come back up to the room and do a little Q&A and everything. You get to know us a little bit, but more importantly, just how we've made it to 26 years. Okay, so first things first, y'all know me as Kammy. Kammy is my motivation. My real name, of course, is Sherry, and this is my husband, Carrie. Yes, Carrie and Sherry. Fun fact, yes, our names rhyme. We met when we were 12. 12 years old in junior high did we meet on the school bus? Were we on the school bus? I'm pretty sure we saw each other around the campus, maybe, but mostly on the school bus. And it all really started. It used to be some of his, were they your friends?
Yeah.
I guess you call it his friends from his part of the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And these little bad boys, and I'm going to say their name, Huey.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, let's call them out if you watching. Yeah. Huey. Daryl. That was Gerald. And see, I wasn't gonna give your last name. See, that was him. I won't say your last name. And what's his brother's name?
Willie.
Willie. Yeah. Yes, those. They used to fill on the girls all the time. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Me, my friend Primrose, my friend Tracy. Yes, they used to fill on. We lived in different neighborhoods, but we were all the same school bus. And they would fill on us all the freaking time. I think my daddy came to the school. My friend Tracy's dad, who was all of 7 feet, probably almost 300 something pounds, came up there. He was Big Showboat. Yeah. That did not stop them boys from filling us on us every evening. Oh my God, it was horrible. And one day, I don't know how it came about, but did you come sit with me?
Yeah, I think I sit.
He came and sat down with me on the school bus, and I guess we talked. I'm assuming, because I'm really no different than how I was back in the day. Just nice, that's me. And I think we was talking, struck up a conversation, and I guess he liked me. I don't know, but he told them boys, "What you tell them, baby?"
I just told them, leave her alone. yeah. Don't mess with that one, and that kind of spilled over to your friends too.
Yeah.
Because y'all all hung together, you, Tracy, and Primrose, whatnot.
And we had no more problems. So what our daddies couldn't do, this one right here, nipped it in the bud. We they didn't touch us ever again. Believe it or not. Unbelievable. And
it wasn't that they were scared of me or anything like that, because we all grew up together and we fought one another, but we was friends the next day. But I don't know if they was thinking, I don't think I want to just continue dealing with that every day, by going against the grain. And by any means, I wasn't, no scary guy. I was just, straight and forward, in a young cat age.
Yeah, because we were just 12 now, but we were thankful. I was thankful. My friends were thankful, and that was it. They did not touch us ever again. So that's kind of how we met. Now, to give you a little background, I come from a Baptist family, of course. At the time, we was in church, Sunday school, Sunday worship. We went back to evening worship. Thursday service, we was choir practice. Was usher practice. Baby, we was always in church. Okay, my father wasn't always a preacher or a pastor, but eventually he did get in church or whatever. But like I said, my parents were very, very strict. I was not allowed to court, if that's what y'all want to call it. I didn't get to court, talk on the phone, none of that. That's just what that was. Okay, so that gives you a little bit of that information. Okay.
Me myself was raised by my grandfather. My mother was there, but my grandfather was really the enforcer in my life. Growing up, I call it a one house shack, but hey, I didn't want for nothing. My grandfather instilled a lot of good values in me, even though I grew up, picked up other, bad things as a little boy would do along the way. But you full circle, you're gonna come back to your roots, and you know, I think it helps. It helped me a lot as an adult. Once you go through all the phases in your life, you want to come back to what was instilled in you.
Yeah. So he was I think some people probably thought maybe he was a bully, but I never witnessed him bullying. He just, I think, was the type you couldn't mess with him. You couldn't F with him. But some people thought he was a bully, and he never showed that side of me. I mean, because don't get me wrong, I was more of an academic student, so I didn't know nothing about any of that kind of stuff going on in school. Because, like I said, it was go to school, come home. That's it. Wasn't a whole lot going on. Like even back then, the roller rink was a popular thing. Going to skate on the weekends. My parents didn't. I didn't get to do that. I didn't get to do that. Going to parties, didn't get to do that. Even if it was kids my own age, I didn't get to do that. Even moving forward, when they did the senior trip, I didn't get to do that either. So that's just to give you a little bit of just how strict. I don't even want to say it was my parents, more so my father, who was just strict. I mean, like if my friends could come spend the night at my house, and I could go over there and play, but it wasn't no spending the night over there. They could spend the night at my house. I mean, probably some of you were like that. My parents say their thing was, I know what's going on in our house, so your friends can come over here and stay, but you can't go stay over there because I don't know what other people allow at their house, because that's kind of how that was. So people, if they wanted, they could come spend the night, but I couldn't go spend the night. So that gives you an idea of my kind of bringing up, which, when you think about it today, wasn't bad. I really appreciate it because I didn't ever get molested or mistreated or touched or anything that shouldn't have happened, never happened to me. Because my parents were strict, would I say was too strict? I could say that then. Now, I don't know. With everything going on and being an adult and seeing all the evil and the bad things that happen to children and stuff, I could say, no, not necessarily. And maybe some parents, might need to, not be so free with letting your children stay with people, even people you trust, because sometimes those are the very ones that will steal your child's innocence. But that's not why we're here. But that was just giving you a little bit of insight as to, me growing up. So moving forward a little bit, baby ended up transferring from Wilma Hutchins High School, which is a high school we went to. So I met him in junior high on into high school, but then he ended up transferring sophomore?
Yeah.
Maybe I saw to Madison. Was that a sophomore year?
Yeah.
Sophomore year. So he ended up going to Madison High School here in Dallas. Well, there in Dallas, because we're definitely in Mexico. But yeah, and so we kind of lost touch for a while. I didn't really see him, so I went on through high school, graduated and everything. Throughout the a few years here and there, like I was going to go into the military. I was going to actually go into the United States Army, but ended up finding out I had some different health issues which prevented me from going. I mean, I got through the test, got through all parts, but something was going on with my heart rate, and it was like, you need to go see a doctor. So you can call that divine intervention. Maybe it just wasn't meant for me to go. So I ended up going to junior college, and my major was criminal justice at the time. And yeah, so I just was living my life. I guess he was living his life. And he ended up, did I find out you had got married before I found out you had got shot, or after? After?
Before.
Yeah, I think some kind of way, he ended up getting married, at a young age. He ended up getting married at a very young age. How old were you when you got married? You don't want to talk about it? Okay, he don't want to talk about how old he was, but he was young.
When your mama had to sign for it, yeah.
So that should tell you he wasn't. Yeah, his mom had to sign for him to get married. So yeah, young age. So anyway, so he of course living his life. I'm going to school, this, that, and the other, and then I kind of got detoured. I'm gonna tell you, you live a sheltered life, and then you meet somebody that brings what you think is excitement. It ain't excitement. It wasn't excitement, but I ended up getting involved with somebody that I probably shouldn't have gotten involved with. And he was a bad guy. He wasn't even from here. He was from Kingston. And so there's that. I ended up getting pregnant, of course. My son Darius, if you're watching, hey Darius. But I will say, and I tell him, and I say it all the time, he saved my life. Because when I got pregnant, I think I stayed around for probably longer than I should have, but probably about maybe I want to say maybe 5 or 6 months, maybe. And eventually, I'm not going to go all off into that, but I eventually went back home because I realized that that was not the life that I wanted my child to be brought up in. And I had to put my child before me, or what I thought I wanted at the time. And so I tell my son all the time, I feel like he saved my life because, of course, when my son he was born and all that, he turned 3 years old. His son was murdered in East Dallas, and I could have very well been with him when he got killed. And then some of the other things that went on, before he got killed, I could have went to jail. Just a lot of stuff. So I'm telling you, I've lived and done a lot of things that, of course, I regret, of course. But I tell my son all the time, he saved my life because, like I said, I could have even went to prison or I could have been killed. So fast forward a little bit. Baby and I always seem to keep in touch. He would call sporadically, or he would come by the house or something like that. Because I remember one time we were still young, and I don't know if you followed. I told you we were going to the grocery store. I don't know if I told him because we would sneak and talk on the phone, because we didn't have cell phones back then. So we would sneak and talk on the phone at home, the landline. And I don't know if maybe I told him I was going to Menards. I don't know, me and my mom. And
I think we ran into you.
Or he ran into us, and he followed us around the store. And I'm just like, oh my God, because I couldn't coordinate or nothing like that, right? So he ended up following us home and stuff. Did you get out?
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's when he got.
Now mind y'all, I was young.
Very young.
But
we were young.
I learned how to drive a car at the age of 7. And I was driving around, not the neighborhood, but everywhere in the city like a grown little man.
Because what you say, you were sitting on a bucket or something to drive?
No. The bottom of a chair, the bottom of the chairs. Yeah, I used to have like 2 of those.
So a chair that you sit in, he had
the
2.
Bottom part of the chair.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Yeah. And he would drive.
Scoot seat all the way up. I mean, a big 4-door 67 Newport Chrysler. 67 Chevy Fred Sanford looking pickup truck. I learned how to drive 3-speed on the collar. So that goes to you. Yeah.
So he started early, needless to say, being an adult.
Yeah.
But he followed us home. And I was like scared shitless, okay? Because my dad was strict. My parents were strict. More so, my dad was very, very strict. And I remember him coming. We got home, got in, put the groceries in, and him come to the door. And I go to the door. I'm like, boy, what are you doing? He was like, where your dad at? My dad, I think, was sitting at the kitchen table. He was sitting at the kitchen table, and I'm thinking, my dad's going to beat my ass. He came in there with his plaid shirt on, some skinny jeans. I can't remember if he had on Wranglers or Levi's, but back then, that was the thing. Skinny jeans and cowboy boots. And we tucked our jeans inside our boots back then. I'm like, Lord have mercy. If I can find a picture, I'm gonna insert a picture of what he had on that day, because I think we have a picture of him when we was at school. He was leaning against the window in that very outfit that he came to my house in that time. So if I can remember to insert a picture, I will.
Yeah.
And he came in the house, and you tell your story. He went up to my dad.
And I introduced myself to him and asked for permission to see his daughter. And he said, well, she's only, I want to say we was 14, 15.
Somewhere, then. Yeah.
We was 14 or 15 then, somewhere along in there. And I was like, well, we the same age. And he looked at me because I drove up in a car. And I don't know if he thought, he did think that I was older.
Older, yeah.
And he gave me permission, but it was guidelines and restrictions.
You could come visit. I couldn't go nowhere.
Yeah.
He could come over, but I couldn't go nowhere.
That's as far as it went.
And and I was shocked. And I don't know if it was just maybe my dad just maybe saw something in him that reminded him of him. I don't know. Maybe it was just the fact that he was respectful and came over. I don't know. But yeah, so my dad worked nights. He worked night shift. Baby would come over with his. Now this is another funny part. He would come over with, was it your cousin Daryl and
Ed, Heavy.
One of our classmates. Hi, Heavy, if you watching. And they would come over, and because Baby was the only one driving and had a car. And baby, we over there hours,
Yeah.
hours. And
Yeah.
we Dad had turned our garage into a den. And sometimes we would be in there and they would be outside for hours waiting on him. Because he would be over there visiting me for hours. And I do mean hours. And my dad would say goodbye, go on to work and everything. And his friends would be outside. I don't know if that tickled my dad or not. I don't know. But he probably said, I guess they was desperate as hell because they was his only transportation.
Yeah, they wanted to go out or go kick it. And, you know, like you said, the main thing was the skating ring.
Yeah.
And they knew, hey, until you get your own car, this is what it is, player.
Because like I said, I didn't never get to go to the skating rink. So either he would come see me before they went or he would come see me afterwards. And that was that. And, you know, we would just, you know, Dad, sometimes we'd go outside and hang out. And Dad would come out and say bye. And he would go on to work. And he never had an issue. Like I said, I guess it was just a respect thing, I guess. But that was just a little insert of that. We kind of went back a little bit. But like I said, we kind of stayed in touch off and on throughout the years. You know what I'm saying? And then for whatever reason, it's like, you know, you be sitting up thinking like, dang, I hadn't heard from baby in a while. I didn't say baby, I say baby now, but I was like, I haven't heard from Carrie in a while, you know, because like I said, every blue moon, if he would either come by or he would call, you know. And I was just like, something ain't right. But I remember the last job I remember him having, I was like, well, I'm just gonna call and see if he still worked there. And so I called and they was like, you don't know? And I was like, I don't know what, you know. So he was shot. And I was like, what? And they was like, yeah, I mean, the boss, I don't even know if that man he even knew me, but he was sharing all the information. He told me he had got shot up real bad. He almost died. He told me what hospital he was at. He told me everything. Now, remind you, he's married. You know what I'm saying? He was married. But he gave me all that information. So I remember going to my sister. And like I said, I don't know if she's watching, but if you're watching, hey, sis. And I was telling her, you know, what was going on and that I wanted to go see him. And I mean, she was like, my sister, you know, at that time, she was about that, I guess. And she was right. And she was like, let's go. And I remember I got some flowers. I think, was it rose? I got a dozen of roses or something like that. And so my sister was like, I'm going to take them up first. I'm going to take them. Don't you go. Because I don't know. I don't think she knew me, his wife. I don't think we had an encounter at that time. But my sister was like, let me take him up and see if anybody in there. And I think when she took him up there, I think the nurse said he didn't have no visitors or something like that. And so my sister came back and got me. And then that's when I went up and saw him. And he was surprised to see me because I was like, you know, I've known him since we were 12 years old. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, I mean, so I wasn't going to go. If his wife had been there, of course, you know, I would have just probably left the flowers with the nurse and we would have just left. But she wasn't there, so there's that. And, I mean, he was there and I talked. We stayed. He even came down. He had gotten a lot better by the time I had found out. You know, he was able to walk and everything. And we even went outside. So we were just bold. His wife could have pulled up anytime. We all outside talking and I'm like, what was he going to do to help me as she pulled up? Because he barely could walk, okay? But we talked for a while. And then finally I left. And then he would come see me, you know, barely getting around. But he would come to my parents' house and see me and stuff. And I think eventually him and his wife, they ended up separating.
Yeah, it was young.
They ended up separating. And so, you know, I don't know. Some people still may not be happy with it or opposed to it, but you know, it is what it is. You know, I'm just telling you our story, you know. And we kind of rekindled, started back courting and, you know, and stuff like that. And yeah, but baby was still a bad boy. He was still a bad boy. he was in them streets, as they say. Was it streets? Them streets? He was in them streets, you know, real tough. He had a job, but he was still living that fast life, that hustle. He was still a hustler. And I think I had at some point decided to move in. He had moved from the apartment that they had lived together. Because I'm like, if I'm coming live with you, you got to move. You know, even though y'all separate, y'all not divorced yet, I don't want to be living in the same place that your ex, soon to be ex was living in. So he ended up getting a different. I didn't move in with him right off, but he did get another apartment and stuff like that. And eventually, I mean, you over there all the time. You pretty much live. You got a toothbrush over there and clothes. You pretty much live there. And So eventually living together and stuff like that and going on about our lives and stuff. And he got jammed up one night, of course. He got jammed up. And that was a long, I don't know how many years of paying for lawyer fees and eventually going to trial. He decided to go to trial, which,
didn't turn out good.
It didn't turn out good. It did not turn out good because when you got police officers testifying and all that, of course, I feel like the judge, because it was a trial by judge, right?
Yeah.
It was a trial by judge. They, I ain't finna decide unless you just got to have undeniable evidence. It just didn't work out. So he ended up getting a 15-year sentence. And at that time, I was pregnant with my daughter, our daughter, Kiana. I can't remember how far along I was, but he ended up getting a 15-year sentence. And we said goodbye in the courtroom. And so fast forward a little bit, but I had made up in my mind, because I'm young. I mean, let's just be real. I'm young. I'm 25 years old. You know what I'm saying? Now I'm pregnant with my second child. And I'm like, you know what? The reality of it is I'm going to live my life. You got 15-year sentence. I don't know when you're getting out. I don't know how long you'll be gone. And we all know that things happen in jail as well. And I know people say, wait a minute, didn't you say you majored in criminal justice? Yeah. That was my major. But yeah, my life kind of detoured. And that's something to tell everybody. Life may take detours. It does. But I know people are thinking that. I know she said that, but yet she done been with 2 bad boys. Yeah. But anyway, so I had just decided the right thing to do would be not to put it in the letter, but to go visit him and say, look, you got 15-year sentence. I'm 25 years old, and I've yet to really figure out my life. I know I'm responsible for 2 kids, and you're not here. And I just feel like I'm going to live my life and I want to be honest. So I really basically went there to break up with him, so he could go through his sentence without wondering about what I'm doing, even though he probably still thought about it, but at least there was honesty. You know what I'm saying? I felt like I owed him that much. And I don't think I didn't visit him a lot. I maybe came, maybe out of 4.5 years, maybe 5 times. I don't think I came a lot, honestly. I didn't come a lot.
Yeah, because, at first they had so far, they had down there, then out there, then back.
Yeah, they move you around a lot. You get transferred a lot. Yeah. So I didn't visit a lot in those 4.5 years that he was gone.
Just on the end.
Just on the end. I mean, I tried to write. I didn't write a lot, but I tried to write. I didn't keep a lot of money on his books. I was just being a typical young girl with kids and just trying to figure out my life and be a parent and just, doing what 20-year-olds do, party, kick it. I mean, honestly. And then eventually, it was time. He was getting released. I think he gave him my number to call, say he was getting released. Because he would always tell people to call me when they were transferring him, so I wouldn't come. Because they were bad about that. You go drive way somewhere to see somebody, and you get there, he been transferred. So how a lot of inmates would always do is just let somebody else call and say, hey, he got transferred to whatever unit it was or whatever. So, but eventually I find he was coming home. So, of course, I didn't have no place for him to come home to, because, you coming home on parole. So he ended up coming home to stay with his mom. Yeah. And he had an ankle monitor, had a monitor on and stuff. So, I feel like we tried to rekindle. It was hard because, I spent the night over there because he had to be home by a certain time and all that. And I remember one night, I think that's when I got sick. My appendix. His mom, he couldn't even go. His mom had to rush me to St. Presbyterian Hospital. And they was like, I got there in time because my appendix was about to burst. And I had to have emergency surgery. And unfortunately, he couldn't be there because he had to be in the crib. So I had to go through all of that. So that was one of those times, getting through that. And then we decided, and I guess in your mind, you think you can just pick up where you left off. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just like nothing in between happened. Although those 4.5 years didn't happen, I felt like we thought we could go from before he left, and when he come back, we just gonna pick up where we left off, right? So we ended up getting engaged and all that, planning the wedding, all that good stuff, And he's still on parole and stuff, but he's doing good. He's working. He had went back to his job that he had actually, when he got his sentence, they took him back and everything. And So that was a blessing, because sometimes once you go to prison and come back, it's hard to get a job and stuff. But they took him back because he was a great worker. Of course, he just doing other shit he shouldn't have been doing. And so we planned our wedding, all of that good stuff. And yes, you know, we went through all that phase and we got married, all of that. And then we started having issues. You know, just little tit for tat stuff. Me, I don't know. You know, I'm not thinking. And then I mean, you know, it was just little stuff that just didn't make sense, you know. But I was still trying to party, hang out, and do stuff. Because let's be honest, I felt like if I'm being transparent, I had to learn how to be a wife. I didn't know how to be a wife. And I don't think he knew how to be a husband. And I say that even though I grew up in a 2-parent home, the example I had for a marriage was not how I wanted to be married, because my father ran the show. Let's just say that. Like, my mom didn't choose what color carpet we got. If we got new carpet, she didn't choose what color the walls were going to be if we were painting. If dad was going to buy a new car, he just went and got a car and brought it home. That's just kind of where he was. He made every freaking decision there was in that house. So if I wanted to go and do something, my mom would say, go ask your daddy. You know what I'm saying? And I used to be like, well, mama, you my mom, but she just did not make any decisions. Okay, so, and I think to me, that's just not how I want to be as a wife. And I know people say, well, you're supposed to be submissive. And I understand it and I respect that. But at the same time, I am my own person. And I don't think that's exactly what the Bible means about being submissive to your husband, to where you don't have no say. Like, you almost like you going from being a child to an adult to back a child when you become married. That's not, no. This is my husband, not my father. He's my husband, okay? And we become one when we got married. And I think even with him, he grew up with his grandfather. So, of course, he learned work ethics, hard work ethics, and learning to appreciate things. But I don't think the example of how to be a husband, I don't think he necessarily learned that either. I mean, he grew up, because his grandmother was there too for a while, and then she decided she wanted to go back to the city. And LC said, no, you can go. But, you know, so I think we both had some growing up to do, and maturity. We had to both become mature. And so I fought a lot of things, like, you know, yeah, you my husband, but you ain't my daddy. Not saying that I said those words, but in my mind, that's kind of how I felt. And so we kind of bumped heads a lot early on in our marriage. So we got married in January of 99. And then at some point in 2000, we ended up separating. Yeah. And because I was just like, this ain't going to work for me, because I'm not finna be unhappy, be married and supposed to be ecstatic, and I'm unhappy. You know what I'm saying? Because in my mind, I was happy before I got married. Because and let me say this, I was never one of those girls that said, oh, I want to get married, have a family, and that white picket fence. That was never me. Never me. Because I had a different vision for my life. Like I said, there were some detours. Like I said, my major was criminal justice. I wanted to go in the military at some point, maybe join the CIA, FBI. I know that may sound crazy, but that is exactly what I wanted to do. But I had kids, you know, I had kids out of wedlock. Then I started dealing with God. I mean, you know what I'm saying? My life turned a drastic detour when I couldn't go in the army. It went total left. And so, I mean, you know, that's kind of what that is. But I'm not ashamed, because it brought me to where I am today, of course. But my life, I had different plans for my life. And I get married, I didn't care about that, you know. But I did get married because I was in love. But I was not finna tolerate no BS. I mean, that's just, I wasn't finna do that. I couldn't be like my mom. I love my mom. She is an amazing mother. And I want to say she was a wonderful wife, but I didn't want to be that kind of wife. I didn't want to be that wife where my husband ran the show. He ran everything. I didn't want to be the boss, because I want to be the wife. I want to be the woman of the house. But I didn't want complete control, but I don't want nobody trying to control me, my every move and make every decision. I didn't want that type of marriage. And I think we just was too strong-headed. And maybe at that time I was more of an alpha female at the time, because I definitely ain't an alpha female now. But I felt like he was an alpha male and I was an alpha female, and it was not meshing. So we ended up separating for probably maybe about a year or so, maybe about a year. He did his thing, I did my thing. And then in the midst of that, we were kind of bumping heads because we couldn't figure out how to co-parent. We was arguing because I felt like he was going out and he wasn't helping me like he was supposed to. So we were still bumping heads even though we were separated. Because I was still trying to party and have fun with my friends, my newfound friends at my job I had just got. And I met a couple of ladies and we became good friends. So we were partying. We were going to, back then we were going to the club. And then there was what they call this little, what they call like after club. It was like an after hours club in a shack. But you know, so I was still trying to do myself, do my thing. And he doing his thing. And I'm like, you ain't coming to get the kids like you should. You ain't helping me. So we were still bumping heads. And then I remember going to visit my Aunt Betty. Hey, Aunt Betty, if you watch. And I remember us having a conversation. We was talking about the fact that Baby and I had separated. And she asked me, was there a possibility of us getting back together? And I just remember saying, well, I mean, anything's possible, ain't it? I mean, I guess. I mean, I don't hate him. He don't hate me. We just... I mean, I don't know what the problem was because we still hadn't really talked about what the problem. I just knew we were arguing and bickering all the time. And I just was like over and done. And I just moved me and my kids out and got us another apartment because I was like, I ain't finna deal with this. And I remember her plain as day saying, let me tell you something, baby. If there's a possibility that y'all can work things out, I don't agree with you separate. Y'all should not have separated because you invite other issues when you separate. And how can you really work on things when you separated and you're living two different lives? You doing your thing, he doing his thing. He said, how are y'all working on it if y'all not even trying, if you're not even in the same house or y'all not even trying? And I was just remember not thinking about it like it made sense. But we had already done it. I had already got another apartment. We had moved out. I didn't put the kids in another whole another school. Everything, you know. But though that was a great piece of advice that I feel like for anybody that's watching, if you're having issues, if you're having marital issues, and there is a possibility that y'all could work it out because the love is still there. The bond is still there. You just got problems. Now, whether it be talking to a counselor, whether it's talking to your pastor or someone that can be unbiased, I feel like you should stay together. Whether it's I'm sleeping in one room, she's sleeping in another. However you want to do it. I just feel like separating and living two different lives is not the way to try to fix things. You know, I don't, what you think?
I think you gotta, you gotta be warning it. It's just like when you talk to your kids, you can want the world for them, but if they don't want it, I mean, you can talk all day, you know, and they'll never get it. But it's just, I'm lost for words on that one.
I feel like we started living like we weren't married.
Right,
and how are you working things out if you're living like you're not married? I mean, because I'm clubbing every night. Well, not every night. Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, pretty much. He doing his thing with his friends. He seeing other people. I'm seeing other people. How are you working it out? Yeah. You see what I'm saying? It's like...
You're not.
You're not working it out. You're not. You know, you come together, you drop the kids off, and then you break. You know what I'm saying?
You're going two different directions.
And definitely not coming back. You know what I'm saying?
You're not talking to one another about that situation, that issue.
No.
You're not talking about it.
And I think he even went so far to talk to my dad. He went to him to talk to him about how he was feeling. This is how I found out that the reason why we were bickering and having problems because he was holding on to animosity for when he was locked up. And that was something he never shared with me. He felt some type of way because I broke up with him. I didn't visit him a lot. I didn't write him a lot. I did not keep money on his books. He was holding on to all of that from him getting out. He never mentioned it. Not one time when he got, because you got out when? 98? Yeah. He got out like in the summer of 98, I believe. Like
97, 98. Yeah.
I think it was 98. He got out in 98 because, we planned everything quick. Yeah. He got out in 98 and he not one time mentioned how he felt about me breaking up with him, about us, the lack of communication when he was locked up. He never expressed that whole time when he got out. And it's like he thought, I guess he felt, I'm not going to speak for him, but like he could just get out and we could just pick up back where we left off. But he was feeling some type of way, and it just he held on to that, and that's how I found out from when he talked to my father. And and I don't know what advice my dad gave him about letting stuff go. You know what I'm saying? And it's either we're gonna work it out and you're gonna let that go and we're gonna move on, or you're gonna hold on to that and we're gonna end up divorced. Yeah. Pretty much. Because one thing about me, what I don't believe in is being separated for no long period of time. Because it's like either we going to work this out or we going to go on and seal the deal.
And all that was in 2001.
Yeah, because we got married in 99, separated in 2000.
Mm-hmm.
And then 2001, you know, it was just time to decide either we going to work this out.
Yeah.
You going to either... I can apologize, but I don't feel like I owe you an apology, because at the end of the day, you made a choice to live that other life. That was how I felt, because I'm 20-some years old now, remind you. And I felt like I didn't owe him an apology, because I felt like I didn't make you do what you did. You had a job. You just wanted to hustle and make fast money. And it cost you freedom. It cost you time. You weren't there to see your daughter born. Right. You missed that. You know what I'm saying? You missed 4.5 years of her life. You know what I'm saying? We missed out on 4.5 years. I felt like, and we weren't married. I didn't owe you anything. This is me thinking in my 20s. Like, you know, but I did feel like if that's how you felt, you should have expressed that when you got out. So we could have talked about it to really see, can you get past that? Right. You know what I'm saying? Can you get past that feeling how you felt? You know, because in my mind, because if had the roles been reversed, you've been living your life. You would have been living I can't say that he wouldn't have. I don't know if he would have visited me or wrote me or kept one of my books. We can't speak on that. But I feel like I know this is a man. You're not married to me. Right. That you would have been living your life. You know what I'm saying? I feel like you would have been dating and doing whatever you would have been doing while I was doing my time. And so we finally talked and stuff. And we finally, I guess, he was able to just put it behind him. And like I said, other things happened during that separation. He don't want to talk about all that. And that's fine. We're not going to talk about that. But other things did happen during our separation. And we had to do some soul searching. We did. And we had to do some praying. And we had to do some forgiving. And we were able to do that. And I'm talking about, we shed tears. He cried. I cried. And I remember that because we were living in some apartments. Mm-hmm. We talked about it and everything. And this was probably
2001,
2002. Yeah, 2001, 2002. Yeah. And we worked it out. We worked it out. Like I said, it took some cries, some soul searching, a lot of praying and forgiveness. And we worked it out. I think I still, because of some of the things that happened, harbored a little animosity, but I was able to still function. I was able to function. It wasn't animosity that I felt like would keep us apart. Nothing like that. But we eventually, the forgiveness was there. Because we felt like we loved each other enough and we wanted to be with each other. And that was bigger than that other stuff. It was just bigger than that. And so fast forward, we ended up getting it back into a 2-bedroom apartment, because he had moved into a 1-bedroom, like I said, because I had moved out, so he moved into a 1-bedroom, so we ended up getting a 2-bedroom apartment. And then we just decided to start trying to get us a home, and we ended up doing that, getting us a house and all of that. And I'm not going to say that things were perfect from then on, because they weren't. However, the greatest advice that I think we can give you is that when you are married, because see, courting and being married is not the same thing. Courting and dating is that honeymoon phase. That's that honeymoon phase. But when you get married, that's, to me, is when the test really comes in. Now, don't get me wrong. People go through some things, even courting, and some of you go through things you should not be going through. Not with no boyfriend, not with no girlfriend. But I do understand you go through things, and it does test you and prepare you for marriage. But some things you should not be going through. You know what I'm saying? With people that are not your spouse. But that's not why we're here. We're going to say that for another Let's Talk About It, okay? But like I said, things were not perfect, but we ended up getting back together, got us a 2-bedroom, decided we was going to try to get us a house, start working and saving for a house and stuff. But one of the biggest things I felt like through the years of being married to one another, we had to learn, like I told y'all earlier, how to be a wife and how to be a husband. And with being a wife and a husband, it's not the same as being a boyfriend or a girlfriend. It's not the same thing. Because you can walk away from a boyfriend and girlfriend. When you take a covenant you can't just walk away from that so easily. And I had to learn that, because it was so easy to separate that first time, because that's immaturity. And I didn't understand that till I had that long conversation with my Aunt Betty and stuff. And then him talking to my father, who was a pastor at the time and stuff. And then once we got back together, we realized this is it. We together for life. And from now on, we have problems, we're going to talk about it. And that brings us to saying that going to bed mad, letting stuff fester, and you mad about something, but you don't tell your partner like they can read your mind. Now, that far be it, there probably is people in this world can read minds. Well, guess what? I can't read his, and he can't read mine. And if he can, he ain't never told me.
Right. And also, me talking with one of my best friends, I call kinfolk, Grant. Hey man, I appreciate you and love you to this day, man. I'm gonna tell you, he gave me a lot of good advice as well. You know, similar to what Aunt Betty was telling you. You know, you're not working on it if y'all apart.
Yeah.
And he's single, and hey man, ain't nothing out of her, man. This pool her is, hey man, you ain't like this out of her. So he gave me a lot of good advice, and that's a true friend. Because most friends, they'll tell you, oh man, come on man, let's go, go kick it, let's go woo to woo. But he wasn't like that. He gonna be 110, and I appreciate him to this day, because we go way back, and we have a lot of history, and he's like a big brother to me. Love you, man.
Love you, Grant. I do too, because he told me about that, about the great, you giving him advice and stuff like that. So I appreciate that, being a real one, and not saying, man, we can go over here and get with these bros over here, man, fuck that, bump that. He could have gave him that advice, you know what I'm saying, and led him down a whole different path. But he was like, nah, man, you got a good wife, you know what I'm saying, a good woman, or whatever case may be, and it ain't nothing out here. And, and I don't think I really ever talked to anybody other than my Aunt Betty, who gave me that advice about that, and then you just getting out there, like I said, partying and all that, and you do realize, because I did date and mess with guys and stuff, and I realized it wasn't nothing out there. At least I didn't run into nobody else, and maybe it was meant for me not to run into nobody else, because the guys I dated, baby, it didn't last. It didn't last. Even when he was locked up, I dated few guys, and not to say anything was wrong with them, but they were just not. They either wasn't working, or didn't have a decent job, wasn't motivated, or some of them didn't know how to do nothing, or they were living at home with their parents. They were just content with what they had. And I just felt like, look, I got kids. I need more. You know what I'm saying? I need more. And I wanted somebody like my dad. My dad worked. He worked hard. And he always had a side gig. My dad could build a motor. He could build a house. He built our church. He could just do stuff. And I mean, to be with somebody that didn't know how to do anything, I just was like, And I think that's why because he just reminds me so much of my father. Work hard, but know how to do stuff. He, like my dad, he could build a motor. He just anything, like things that need to get done. If my husband, if he don't know how to do it, with the thanks to YouTube, he can go over there and watch something and fix it and figure it out. I mean, I just always wanted a man that I didn't always feel like I still had to pay somebody else to do stuff, or I had to still call my daddy for stuff. My husband he just worked hard, go to work every day, to make sure that the bills got paid and food on the table. And I respect that, you know what I'm saying? Because I think all girls are looking for, if you grew up with your father or whoever was your role model, is looking for that. And I mean, I have to just say,
Hey y'all, this one we're getting to the good part. We getting to the good part now. Here we go. I can ride now.
But yeah, so I was just, so I don't think that's why a lot of those relationships, even when he was locked up, just never worked out. And I remember when this one guy said, you ain't gonna never get married. You ain't gonna never get married. You want this and you want that. And I'm like, no, it's not about what I want. It's just what I know I don't want. I mean, I may not be 100% for sure about the things that I want, but I am 100% for sure about the things I don't want. I knew that for a fact. I don't need nobody that play video games all day. I don't need nobody that don't know how to change a tire. I don't need nobody that live with their parents and ain't motivated to get their own place. I needed somebody with ambition. You know what I'm saying? Because I felt like I was a hard worker, go getter. I have a lot of my father in me too, even my mom, because my mom worked. She worked hard. She worked her 40 plus hours, and she knew how to sew on the side. I mean, I wanted somebody like my parents. I wanted somebody that's like me. And everybody I dated, I was like, this is not what this is. Like, no. And I wasn't going to waste my time with that. So, yeah, he may have been offended. Some of the guys would be offended and say, well, you ain't going to never get married. And I'm okay with that. And I used to tell them, I'm okay with that. I'm never going to settle. I'm not going to settle. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm not one of those women that's desperate to get married. Because one thing about Cher, I'm going to always take care of me and mine. My kids ain't never wanting for nothing. Even if I had to work 2 or 3 jobs. Now, I may have missed out on them growing up if I had to work that hard. But I wasn't going to settle for anything just for the sake of saying I'm married. So, you know, I used to piss a lot of guys off. Because back then, yeah, I was... You know what I'm saying? I thought I was, you know, fine as wine and all that and look good and I could care less because what you ain't doing, let me move on because I ain't got time for the foolishness. I just don't. And that's why I say about young women, about settling, you know, because you want to be married, you want to be in a relationship. But make sure that person, and I don't mean just women, even men, make sure that person brings something to your life. Not constantly taking. Make sure they're bringing something to your life, bringing value, adding value to you. You know, I feel like I learned a lot being married to my husband and vice versa. Because I think with him, he's learned how to not be selfish. Because he felt like, I think with him, in his previous marriage, he was selfish. Not selfish, but selfish. What would be the word?
The word is, you know, some things weren't going to work for me in that marriage, you know. You know, but you know, we all have to go through the course in life. You're going to have some bad apples because if life was all sweet and dandy, the first one you pick will be, the first one you be with will be roses and peaches. Yeah. You know, but we all got to go through some bumps and bruises in life, you know, to get to that right one. And sometimes you get to the right one and then you let it slip away. Then you gotta, you know, rehook it, you know. You gotta reel it back in, you know. Yeah. You know, just like when you fishing sometime. And you catch a big one, okay, and he get off the hook and you mad, sometimes you gotta throw it back out there, man. Look, girl, I'm trying to catch that one that got away. You know what I'm talking about? Come on, fellas.
Yeah.
I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, so it was, you know, I think once we settled into it and I decided, you know, okay, I knew how I didn't want to be as a wife, but I knew how I wanted to be as a wife. So like I said, I had to grow up. He had to grow up, and we grew up together. And like I said, I was never married, but he was married. So, of course, he had to learn how to be married differently because I was like, that what you did over there ain't gonna work over here. And so we had to go through some trial and errors. We did, and we had to figure some things out. And one thing, like I said, I really feel like we had to learn was the compromising. When you're married, you don't always win. You're not gonna always win a disagreement and or a decision. Compromising you have to compromise sometimes. And there are times when you say, okay, you know what? This ain't nothing that I gotta win. Baby want to do A, I want to do B. Guess what? We're gonna roll with what he want to do this time, and vice versa. And then sometimes we can say maybe we can both win. We can both have a decision that's gonna work for both of us. Right. You know, you cannot be one of those type of people that always want to get your way when you are in a relationship and when you get married. You cannot. And I think that has helped us in these 26 years once we got over the hump and realized that we knew we wanted to be forever with each other. Because I felt like he was my best friend. You know what I'm saying? My best friend, my soulmate. And we laugh about that all the time. Because I always say, if something were to happen to him, I would never remarry. And people say, oh, you don't think you'll get lonely? I got kids and grandkids. I don't think I'll get lonely. No. This was a one and done for me. Because it was never a big deal to get married for me. But once we got married, once we got over the separation, once we got back and figured out how to be a wife and how to be a husband and stuff like that. This has been some wonderful, years together. And I realized that for me, this is it. This is it. So even if something happens before we get old and God decides to call him home, I hope we have many years together. But for whatever reason, because none of us know when we're leaving this life, if he were to leave what we consider early, I would not remarry. I'm putting that out on YouTube. Y'all know they say it lives out there forever. I would not remarry. And people like, oh, sure, yeah.
And that goes both ways.
I'm telling.
It's vice versa, because I don't think I could ever meet someone and love someone the way I love my wife. And then a lot of history from junior high to teenagers to young adults until mid-age, and now we're in our 50s.
We're great.
We're in our 50s, you know.
Yeah.
So I don't think I could ever love another woman the way I love this woman.
Yeah, because this is 44 years. This is 44 years of history. Yeah. And I know people have been married way longer than that. And I hope we get to experience that as well. But I'm saying that's for us. But today, this is 44 years of friendship. Even through the, he done got married, through the separations, to living our separate lives, we've still always been friends. Even through the rough spots, you know what I'm saying? If he would have picked up the phone and said, hey, this is going on, blah, 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 I still would have had his back. Because this is 44 years of friendship, and 26 years of those have been married. Right. But we've been friends, for 44 years. And I feel like I really believe, I'm not saying nobody else would love me, but I don't think nobody will ever love me like this. You know what I'm saying? So I'm never going to say nobody will love me, because I'm just not going to give nobody the opportunity, because I feel that this is a once in a lifetime union here for me, and there is nobody that's going to ever be able to sit next to me and fill those shoes for me. Could someone else come in and love me? Of course. Could I, if I allowed it, love someone else? Of course. I'm saying that I'm choosing not to. I'm choosing to make this my one and only last forever. This is it. Whether I go first or not, I know for me, if he goes before me, this is it for me. I'm choosing to not, because yes, someone else could love me. Yes, I could love someone else. I'm choosing to not love someone else. I'm gonna make that choice. There's a difference. Yeah, because I know people be all in the comments saying, oh yeah, you could remarry. Yes, of course you could. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying for me, my choice would be to not ever love anyone else or remarry. But the main thing is, we just want to give you a little history, a little insight into the beginning, the middle. Okay. But the main thing, I guess, just to give a little advice to those of you who want to get married, who are engaged, who are in relationships and are going to get engaged, going to get married. The main thing is just remembering that when you do get married, you become one. And you have to treat that person just like you would treat yourself. Just as much as you love yourself, you have to love your partner. Just as much as you respect yourself, you have to respect your partner. And I'm not a psychiatrist, and I'm not getting all off into, because I know people say, what about people who don't love themselves, don't like? Then you have work to do. Because people get married all the time and probably should not get married. You got people who remarry and probably shouldn't have got remarried when they did. But they managed to figure it out. But my advice would be is that when you do get married, when you're in your marriage, is learning to communicate. That is like the biggest thing. Every time when I used to be at work and people would come and they would, getting ready to get married and all that, and I would say, oh yeah, I've been married such and such. And they were like, well, how you made it? How have you been married that long? And I said, well, we had rocky times, but I think the greatest advice that I could always give them would be communication. Communication. Because I'm going to tell you something. If you don't communicate with your partner, you are setting yourselves up for failure. You're setting yourself up for lots of problems. Because if I can't communicate with the person I lay next to every night, that's a problem. If I got to seek advice from friends, from family members, that's a problem, because we should be able to come to each other. We should be able to sit down and agree to disagree on things. We should be able to sit down and agree to compromise on things. And because we're in this is our marriage. We took a covenant, okay? And so if you can't communicate with your person, that is a problem. It's definitely a problem, because you can't always win. I don't have to always win. He doesn't always have to win. And one thing, and definitely, I can be upset. Now, sometimes it may be, let me cool down a minute, but we're going to talk about it. We ain't going to bed. I ain't going to let it fester. I ain't going to work and telling everybody I'm mad at my husband because he did something. I'm telling him. I may not tell him in that moment because I want to choose my words carefully, and I don't want my words to come. I still want it to come out in love, lovingly. Now, don't get me wrong. We have disagreements, but they're definitely not like they were in our 20s. Because sometimes we be arguing and we smiling the whole time through our arguments and stuff. But we serious, but it's definitely comes out different in our 40s and 50s than it did when we were in our 20s.
Hey, because some things ain't going to work for her, and some things ain't going to work for me. And that's just what it is. So somewhere we're gonna meet in the middle,
right?
And we're gonna make this. Hey, this train gonna keep on rolling.
Yeah, and sometimes we'll be, I'm saying what I'm saying. He'll be, okay, baby, okay, baby, okay, baby. But he still be letting me go on. But okay, baby, and vice versa. You know what I'm saying? So we have learned through the years that we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about it, and and sometimes there are moments where sometimes it may come out, and not necessarily when it should, because we should have waited to talk about it. It come out, but it comes out lovingly. Yeah. Maybe my tone is, because he'll be like, okay, baby, bring it down. Bring it down a little bit. Because y'all, some of you who know me know I do talk loud and stuff like that. And he'll say, you need to lean over a little bit, baby. You a little out the shot over here. And he'll be like, you can bring it down just a little bit, baby. And then I may laugh about that, but and I may say, no, I don't want to bring it down. But it's not like it was in our 20s, because, it's loving. It's a little more loving. And, but we talk about it. We don't let it fester. We go ahead and get it out, because I feel like that is the best way to handle disagreements. Not going to bed, festering for days, weeks. Okay, we go ahead and talk about it. And so that was just a little bit. We just wanted to sit down and talk about how we met, the little stuff in the middle, what's been working for us for 26 years. And like I said, we're going to end it with this: communication. Okay. And hopefully we'll sit here maybe again in, another 5 years. We're at the point where now we can't say 20. We're going to do baby steps. I hope we live many, many more years, but hopefully we'll be sitting here acknowledging 30 years of wedded bliss. 30 years.
What's to come, maybe.
And hopefully we're going to retire and travel and see the world and enjoy our grandkids and get to be, a part of their lives and stuff like that. That's our hope and our prayer, that we get to see many, many more years of that. But yeah, we're 50. Well, he's 56. I'm going to be 56 on Saturday, so excited about the new chapter in our lives. We are heading into the direction of retirement, so we are definitely looking forward to that in the next 4 to 5 years of retiring from our jobs. And we just want to probably just travel, maybe become full-time content creators. Maybe you'll see a lot more of him making a cameo and just traveling and enjoying our grandkids. That is our hope and our prayer for the next 5 years. So hopefully the next time we're sitting down, it'll be not our 26th year, but we'll be having maybe our 30th or 31st. We'll see, because we're off. We probably should have did this in the 25 and be sitting down in 30. But I don't know what made us wait till our 26th. But hopefully on our 30th we'll come back and we'll talk about what's happened in the 4 years. But in the meantime, between time, you'll just see him making cameo appearances in my vlogs and my videos and stuff like that. And yeah, so we're excited for things to come. I hope you kind of enjoyed this segment and and all that good stuff. And leave some comments. Please leave some comments about what you thought about the video, and any other questions you may want to ask, and we might do an impromptu sit down. But I do want to maybe do some more let's talk about it. This was kind of like a intro into something, the next little chapter of what we wanted to do, and that's doing a little podcasting. So the next segment will be definitely coming soon. I just got to see if I can get everybody together, and we're gonna sit down and just talk about some childhood things, and well, not necessarily just childhood stuff, but some adult foolishness. I think it'll be fun to get him and some of his fellows that we kind of mentioned in the video together and talk about some stuff. I think that would be interesting, a little segment. It's still gonna be on one channel because I ain't finna do no 2-3 channels, y'all. It's just gonna be one channel because, baby, I'm barely doing this one. So I'm trying to build this channel, and I think it's just gonna be every now and then, maybe every few months, let's talk about it. Y'all can give us some ideas in the comments about things you would like to, us to talk about. But yeah, that's some exciting things to come. A new little segment into Kammy is my motivation. All right. So anything else? We're going to toast to 26 years of marriage. 26 years. For some rocky, some not so rocky, but all in all, the best 26 years of my life, and I would not have wanted to have shared it with anybody else but him.